assignment.
Okay. All right, well, thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to teach this portion of Karen's class. The past couple weeks, we've been talking about quantitative research, right? Numbers, facts, data. Today, everything changes, all right? So we're going to discuss qualitative. Does anybody know before we start what qualitative is or what some of the big differences are? I was doing some research, obviously, so I could come in here a little bit better prepared. And what we're looking at is a focus on qualities of a process or entity, okay, which is still kind of what you've been doing, but they're not examined or measured in terms of quantity, amount, frequency, or intensity. So that's the biggest difference, because up until now, everything you guys have been learning about and studying and the articles you've been reading and critiquing have done that. Qualitative research really means the analysis of open-ended questions that respondents are asked to write on a survey. So just think about that for a minute, okay? You're going to give respondents open-ended questions on a survey and let them fill in the blanks. Okay, think about like what type of information you might gather, leaving it so open-ended and broad, okay? And that's part of the problem with qualitative research, is that it is very open-ended. Excuse me. It's also thought of as a naturalistic type of research, all right? So the researcher oftentimes will go out into a natural setting and actually study the phenomenon where it's actually taking place, okay? So just like I said, what we're looking at, qualitative research, it's still systematic, all right? So just like with the quantitative that you guys have done so far, we're still looking at a systematic, subjective approach, okay? Subjective, what does that mean? You're getting people's opinions, okay? So we're not looking at hard facts and data, we're looking at opinions. Used to describe life experiences and give them meaning. So it's a little abstract, okay? It's useful in understanding human experiences that still have to do with nursing, such as pain, caring, powerlessness, and comfort, okay? Focuses on the understanding as a whole instead of specific experiences. And it's consistent, or you'll find it a little bit more frequently when we're talking about the holistic philosophy of nursing. Because we get a little bit of abstract with holistic nursing. We start talking about pain and powerlessness and comfort, all right? In some of my prep for this class, I actually found an example of a research study. This is not the one that Karen's going to post that you guys are going to do, but the study, this is what it's called, just to give you an idea. Mexican-American women aging with childhood onset paralytic polio. Okay, that's what the study's actually called. And it came from the Qualitative Health Research Journal. And the abstract was, so the background of this study, in this study, the life history of 11 women of Mexican-American descent aging with permanent impairment related to childhood onset paralytic polio were explored. These women, ages 45 to 62, were interviewed 3 times each. So they were interviewed, all right, and they did it 3 times each. This is what was compiled. Field notes, okay, so what would that be? Kind of like the researchers' notes of just what they saw and what they experienced. Audio-taped interviews, life course charts, and demographic data were used to collect data chronicling the childhood to present day. So they tried to take a snapshot of these women from their childhood all the way through to present day. And then in the results, they presented a thematic representation of the societal and cultural influences of the life course trajectories of all of these women. So they tried to look at it as a whole. But you can see how abstract that kind of is, okay? There are still frameworks, okay? So qualitative research, just like quantitative, is still based on frameworks. The goal of qualitative research is not hypothesis testing, though, okay? You're not trying to come up with a theoretical hypothesis and go out to prove it or test it, all right? The frameworks are used in a different sense in qualitative research. Each type of qualitative research is guided by a particular philosophical stance, okay? You guys with me so far? It's a little bit abstract, okay, but I'm talking a little bit more about feelings and emotions, all right? The data that you gather from qualitative studies are subjective. So you're going to get a lot of opinions, okay? It incorporates perceptions and beliefs of the researcher and the participants. So that's important to note. You're getting different perceptions and opinions, not just from the people that you're interviewing and studying, but you're also going to get perceptions from the researchers, the people that are actually conducting the research, okay? So there are 4 different approaches to qualitative research, all right? You're looking at phenomenological, it's a hard word to say, all right? So you're describing and capturing the lived experience of study participants, kind of like the study I just told you about, all right? Grounded theory is another type of approach, and that is going to explore how people define reality and how their beliefs are related to the actions and, their day-to-day living. The ethnographic, it seeks to understand people, all right, and their ways of living, how they live, what they believe, how they adapt to life, and a historical research approach, okay? So that's going to search through history for generalities. Again, you're trying to kind of look at the whole, the picture as whole, society or the group that you're studying as a whole, and the historical research just goes back and it tries to come up with generalizations based on the whole.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
Go ahead.
So I have this journal, I just pulled it out of my bag, for ethnographic, an institutional ethnography of nurses' support of breastfeeding on the night shift. So how night shift nurses help moms breastfeed overnight. So the ethnographic, the group of people are night shift nurses. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, go. Sorry.
Thank you. So there's still the method, okay? The method in which you conduct your research when you're dealing with qualitative is still going to be pretty similar to quantitative, all right? So you're going to select a topic, and you're going to state what your problem or what your question is. And then you're going to justify the significance of studying it. You want to try and argue why it's important that you're studying it and taking a look. And then you design your study, and you identify and gain access to your data sources, and then you select study subjects, all right? So you still have to figure out what you're doing and why and who you're going to take a look at, okay? The methods are unique to qualitative research. So the methods that you go about this now are not similar to quantitative, all right? So set that aside and look at selection of subjects. The way you go about selecting your subjects is going to be very different with qualitative research. There is a researcher-participant relationship, okay? So you do form a personal relationship with the people that you're interviewing or studying. That's also how you can see that you can get the researcher, the interviewer's opinions in the study as well. They're forming relationships. The actual data collection methods are different. The data management and the data analysis is different. And then your overall interpretation of your findings is going to be very different than quantitative, okay? All right, so how do you go about selecting your subjects, or what they like to say, they're participants? All right, qualitative research, they call them participants. So the subjects are referred to as participants. It's a group effort. Everybody's participating. It's a facilitation of data. You're not just going out there and picking and choosing and plugging in numbers, okay? They like them to volunteer, okay? So they may volunteer to be involved in the study. And they may be selected by the researcher because of their particular knowledge, experience, or views related. So we're not looking at with quantitative, what did you see a lot of? Kind of like a random selection, all right? You even had to, like, some of the studies for the quantitative, they needed it to be random. You weren't allowed to pick and choose. With this type of study, if you're going about it this way, the researcher may actually seek out specific participants based on their background or based on their knowledge level. Okay. Purposive sampling methods, all right? So they may select individuals typical in relation to the phenomenon under their study. Again, they're getting picky, and they're picking subjects or participants based on the phenomenon and how it relates to the study. They may seek out individuals different in some ways from other participants to get diverse participants or perspectives. So they specifically go out looking to pick different people, different opinions, so they get a wide variety of sampling and a diverse, selection of perspectives. And then something called the snowballing technique is commonly used. All right, your sample size. So your decisions regarding sample size are going to differ from quantitative studies. It's based on the needs related to the study purpose. The number of subjects is usually smaller than in your quantitative studies and research articles. Case studies with only one subject may be used, and a study or a research conducted with 6 to 10 subjects is not unusual. All right, so when you think back to your quantitative that you've been doing, we're dealing with hundreds or thousands in our sample study. Now we're getting small. You might even come across studies with just 1, 5, 10 people, okay? So the sample size is usually significantly smaller. All right, characteristics of the researcher-participant relationship. So we already said this is a more personal type of study, and you're going to get the researcher's opinions thrown in. And there is a relationship that develops between the researcher and the participants, okay? The participants are treated as colleagues rather than subjects. The researcher must have the support and confidence of the participants, the people that they're working with, the people that they're interviewing, in order to complete the study. And maintaining the relationship between the researcher and between the participant is extremely important. It's crucial to the evaluation of the data and that study working out in the researcher's benefit, okay? So as far as collecting the actual data, one of the methods is observation. It's just that, okay? What's going on here? Look and listen. Note routine activities. They like to focus on detail. They note the processes and the obvious events as well as discrete events. They kind of read between the lines. And they note unexpected events. So they literally just go out and put themselves in a setting and observe and make lots and lots of notes about what they see and what they don't see, okay? One of the other techniques is interviews, all right? So it's an open-ended format. All right, you guys understand the difference between closed-ended questions and open-ended questions. They're not asking them questions where they can simply say yes or no. They're asking them questions that really elicit a detailed response, okay? And with that, they're going to get emotions and opinions involved. The researcher defines the focus. There are no fixed sequence of questions. This is not robotic. This is not systematic. It's really open-ended. And there's no rhyme or reason for the questions being asked, okay? The questions tend to change as the researcher gains insights from previous interviews and observations. So they may have like a script that they want to follow, but based on the feedback and the opinions and the information they start gathering from their participants, those questions may go by the wayside and they may start going down a whole other avenue that they never even expected to go, which is what keeps it fun and interesting. Okay? The respondents or the participants are encouraged to raise issues not addressed by the researcher. So they don't have to stay between the lines. They don't have to just stick with what the researcher's asking. They want more information. They want these open-ended questions, and they want to facilitate, more issues that maybe they're not missing, and get these participants to really open up about what's going on. Okay? Data collection method. One of the other ways is text. All right, so it may be written by the participants on a particular topic at the request of the researcher. They're still going to try and keep it open-ended, okay? The narratives may be solicited by mail rather than in person. The text developed for other purposes, such as patient records or procedure manuals, can be accessed for qualitative analysis, okay? And then published texts, like books and journals and newspapers and everything like that. All right, questions so far? You guys still with me? And some of the other ways that they gather data in these qualitative studies is focus groups, okay?